Our weather alert continues for extreme heat. We're timing out when we could snap this heat wave and the storm threats starting tomorrow. Frustrations over thousands of car thefts happening citywide.
I called the police and it took them about an hour, almost 2 hours to get back to me.
Our team questions if these crimes are getting the attention they deserve from BPD. Allegations of a hostile work environment within Baltimore County's fire department.
We want a workplace that is free from sexual harassment.
We dig deeper into the complaint that sparked a new consent decree.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
Fox 45 is tracking a weather alert tonight. You're looking at live pictures from Towson and also the Inner Harbor.
The entire area suffering through a brutal heat wave, and today could be the hottest day yet.
Yeah, it's brutal out there.
It is.
Maxine, right? Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Maxine Stryker. Communities across the state are facing heat advisories. Fox 45 News is keeping you up to date with all of the current conditions and when we'll finally see that cool down.
Yeah, right. Hopefully soon. Right now, here's Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers with the latest. Yeah. Jonathan, any good news?
Just wild. And actually, there is some good news. We are beginning to see the end of the heat wave, but it's going to take a few days until it really sets up. We're kind of at the peak now. A heat advisory in effect through 7 p.m. Wednesday. So that's 7 p.m. this evening for the entire area except the lower and middle portion of the eastern shore. Also, a code orange air quality alert. Last hour, we were at 99 here in Baltimore. I believe that's the third day in a row of 99. Now we're at 96. We'll have to see if in between we hit 100, because if we did, that would be the first time that we hit triple digits officially here in Baltimore since back in 2020. But for now, the high has been 99, 95 at Columbia, 95 at Cockeysville, and a temperature now at 92 at Denton. And by the way, yes, that 99 did break a record from 1983 of 98 degrees that was standing for today. 100 is what it feels like over at the airport. It feels like 108, just awful at Cockeysville, 100 at Easton. This is why we have those heat advisories up. Dangerously hot temperatures. Again, the code orange air quality alert continues into this evening as well, feeling like 102 through the 4 p.m. hour and only dropping to about 80 about 1 a.m. early tomorrow morning. Still hot tomorrow, but we do have improvements on the way, but we are tracking the tropics closely. Could have a major hurricane not too far offshore in the Atlantic over the next several days, and also maybe a severe storm impact here. I'm going to break it all down in a couple of minutes. My Weather Authority forecast.
Well, Jonathan, thank you. The weather having an impact on Baltimore students. Kids at 11 city schools without air conditioning are being impacted by the heat. They'll be sent home early or learning remotely through the end of the week. With the heat wave, the classes are literally too hot for students to sit in. The school system had plans in place to install air conditioning at all city schools before the year started, but now the administration says those plans, they won't be completed until the end of the year.
Now, the Baltimore City Health Department has tips on staying cool in this dangerous heat. Drink plenty of water, but not too much. Avoid caffeine and alcohol and reduce your time outside and activities.
And put the power of the Weather Authority Storm Center in your hands. Just download the free WBFF Weather Authority app for your smartphone for the latest on the city's code red alert, tracking storms and more. Just go to your app store and search for WBFF to get started. Cell phone messages sent through an encrypted app and never meant to be seen by the public are now shedding some light on what's been happening at the Maryland State Department of Education.
Project Baltimore's Chris Papps joins us now with more on those messages and why they're raising serious concerns over the state superintendent's leadership. Chris?
Well, Signal is an encrypted messaging app which allows users to set a timer to automatically delete messages. It's marketed as having privacy at its core. So why was the Maryland State Superintendent, Mohammed Chaudhry, using the app to conduct state business? Project Baltimore obtained these screenshots of conversations between Chaudhry and high-ranking employees within the Maryland State Department of Education. Each one is a signal message sent by Mohammed Chaudhry to at least one high-level MSDE employee whose name we are concealing. We received multiple text threads, which the source says were sent between late 2021 and 2022. Chaudhry's name, as you can see, is right there, along with his picture. The phone number, which we blurred, is registered to the superintendent. Now, in these messages, Chaudhry is discussing work like teacher assignments and MSDE contracts. In one conversation, he appears to berate an employee. But when we asked the superintendent at a recent school board meeting, he told us he does not use the Signal app for his job. Mr. Superintendent, have you ever used the Signal application in commission of your job?
Thank you much. Appreciate it. For my job?
Well, you've never used Signal for your job?
No.
Now, we followed up with Chaudhary in an email asking him to explain the screenshots we just showed you and why he told us he never uses the Signal app for his job. His answer has now changed. Coming up tonight on Fox 45 News at 10, we'll show you what the superintendent says he was using the Signal app for and the evidence we have now that contradicts that statement. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Howard County Public Schools Chief Operating Officer is no longer working for the school system. It comes after a series of busing issues at the start of the school year. 20 bus routes were canceled last week because of failures by Zoom. That's the school buses or the school system's new bus contractor. County officials say 12 of those routes have been restored and they're working on getting 2 others on track.
And this just into the newsroom. A gun has been recovered on a student inside a Baltimore City school. North Avenue says that gun was found on an 8th grade student at Cherry Hill Elementary and Middle School. We're told the student was arrested without incident. Last school year, at least 8 guns were seized inside of city schools.
There was a deadly double shooting in North Baltimore last night. Police say it happened on Frisbee Street near East 35th after midnight. At the scene, police found a 57-year-old and 21-year-old. Both men had been shot. The 21-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene, while the second victim was taken to the hospital. Anyone with information is asked to call Baltimore police. According to Baltimore police, 192 people have been killed this year. 451 have been shot and survived. Those numbers are down from last year, and there is growing concern, though, over a spike in juvenile violence, car thefts, and other quality of life crimes.
Well, crime is one of the top issues for voters in Baltimore, with election season just beginning to heat up.
And several mayoral challengers recently teased their intentions.
Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor breaks down the candidates you can expect and what the mayor's chances are for re-election. Rebecca?
Yeah, with the many challenges currently facing Baltimore City, political analyst John Dede says the mayor could face a challenging primary election next May. According to Dede, as you guys just said, crime is still top of mind for voters. Just last week, a shooting outside of a high school football game sent a crowd into chaos and left a 12-year-old suffering a gunshot wound to the back. In the months following the Brooklyn mass shooting, the city's worst mass shooting to date, the community is still waiting for a murder arrest. And so far this year, car thefts have more than tripled, going from about 2,200 car thefts this time last year to more than 7,000 in 2023. According to Dede, one more tragedy could be what pushes voters over the edge.
I think there's a perception that crime is high because of the types of things we're seeing, the more brazen types of things. If you have another Brooklyn type of incident happen, that could really turn voters off.
Now, as for who could challenge Mayor Scott's re-election campaign, businessman Bob Wallace launched an exploratory committee this week. And back in June, former Mayor Sheila Dixon alluded that she may be considering another run as well. Coming up in my full story tonight at 5, I will tell you who Dede believes is the front runner in this race so far. But for now, reporting live outside of City Hall, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
All right, Rebecca, thank you. Fox 45's right now, we want to put Baltimore's crime issue into perspective. Let's take a look at these numbers from the Baltimore Police Department. So far this year, the city has recorded 26,000 crimes. And if we go up here to our map and pull this up full, you can see they're all listed across the city, different areas. Here's Towson, Pikesville, here's Rosedale, and here's the city right here in the middle. And these are all of those crimes taking place. Those crimes include burglaries, car thefts, assaults, and shootings. In fact, one economist addressed the level of the city's crime crisis.
So much criminality in the city that all of a sudden very serious crimes are treated almost like nuisance crimes.
Fox 45's Amy Simpson is live right now. And Amy, you're hearing about how serious crimes are and being treated like nuisance crimes, apparently. That's not going to be something citizens want to hear.
Yeah, Kai, car theft is just one example, and it's something that has already impacted thousands of people here in the city so far this year. Thieves are taking cars by the dozens every single day in Baltimore City. Baltimore police data reveals at least 7,000 cars already taken in 2023. The math averaging out to about 29 cars stolen each and every day. That's more than one car stolen every hour.
It's not a matter of, hey, if my car will be stolen. No, it's when. Your car likely will be stolen if you park it in a public place here in Baltimore City, if it's a Kia or Hyundai.
Some point to the deluge of Hyundais and Kias being targeted, part of a TikTok trend, often prompting juveniles to hotwire cars. And Baltimore City's top prosecutor says state laws are roadblocks to holding some thieves accountable.
It's very frustrating. You have officers doing their job, risking their life. You have victims who struggle to make the car payments, struggle to pay the insurance, doing what they can, and here comes a young kid, a child, stealing their car because it's a game. They think the system will hold that child accountable, but it's not happening.
So much criminality in the city that all of a sudden very serious crimes are treated almost like nuisance crimes.
But auto theft is not a crime of violence, instead considered property crime, leaving real people in the lurch.
Car theft is a very serious issue. That's one's transportation, but also one has invested a lot of money in that car. Of course, there are considerations of insurance costs, those kinds of things. That's a huge loss.
Last week, a Baltimore woman detailed her experience after her Hyundai Tucson was taken from outside her home in July.
I called the police, and it took them about an hour, almost 2 hours to get back to me.
She told FOX45 News police never came out to the scene.
The police report over the phone. It was a really weird process, kind of quick, kind of confusing.
Today we asked BPD if this is standard practice. The department pointing to its smart policing, launched in Baltimore City last year, shifting to an alternative response for non-priority calls, freeing up officers for high-level crimes. And with more than 7,000 cars stolen in Baltimore City so far this year, today we also asked Baltimore police how many detectives are assigned to investigate those crimes. The department did acknowledge that question, but tonight we're still waiting for that answer. Meanwhile, BPD does tell us of the 365 car theft related arrests made so far this year, nearly a third were juveniles. We're live tonight. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
All right, Amy, thank you. We want you to join the conversation. If the election were held today, who would you vote for as the next mayor of Baltimore? Mayor Scott, Sheila Dixon, Bob Wallace, or someone else? The poll is live right now. You can check in at foxbaltimore.com/vote.
We have breaking news into our newsroom right now. There's word that federal charges could be coming against President Biden's son, Hunter Biden. The Associated Press is reporting federal prosecutors are preparing to charge him by the end of this month. The exact charges are not clear. Earlier this year, a plea deal with the federal government fell apart. Hunter Biden was set to plead guilty to misdemeanor charges related to his failure to pay income taxes and avoid prison time. He's also facing a gun charge. A Prince George's County police officer is under investigation. The latest on the fallout from a viral video showing the officer taking a woman into the back of his cruiser.
The trial could take 4 months. The new developments tonight in Donald Trump's election subversion case.
Tracking a weather alert, we look ahead to find out when these record-breaking temperatures could reduce.
From Georgia, in 2020's election interference case, today a judge rejected a proposal from two attorneys charged alongside Trump to separate their cases. Kenneth Chesbrough and Sidney Powell are seeking speedy trials. Chesbrough's trial is set to begin October 23rd. Also today, prosecutors revealed the trial could take 4 months. More than 150 witnesses could be called. The trial could begin in less than 2 months. The judge today expressing doubt the DA will be ready to trial 19 defendants. And all 19 are facing racketeering charges and have pleaded not guilty. In Colorado today, an election watchdog also filed a lawsuit against the former president. They say he's not eligible for public office because of the insurrection charge and 14th Amendment.
With COVID cases once again on the rise, some of those mask mandates are starting to return. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has more on the debate if they should be required once again.
Elementary school kids and staff are back in masks in a Maryland suburb outside Washington, D.C.
There's no reason a healthy child should have to wear a mask.
The 10-day mask mandate going into place at one elementary school after a handful of kids reportedly tested positive for the virus. The First Lady also testing positive earlier this week. The White House says she's quarantining in Delaware away from her husband.
Tested negative on Monday, tested negative on Tuesday, tested negative today. The president's going to continue to follow CDC guidance. And as I mentioned at the top, that includes masking, that includes testing.
The CDC still recommends anyone exposed to COVID-19 wear a mask for 10 days. Masks remaining a hot debate topic in light of studies showing they make little to no difference in slowing the spread of COVID-19.
The president tested negative, yet is still opting to wear a mask. What kind of message does that send?
It shows a lack of intellect, a lack of science. There's no reason he should be wearing a mask. How many times has he had COVID? He's had COVID 2 or 3 times. How many vaccines has he had? 5 or 6 vaccines. It sort of shows that he doesn't believe any of the things he's done so far are working.
When it comes to masking elementary students for COVID, critics of masking like Senator Rand Paul argue they do much harm and no good.
It's a disservice to children. It's harder for them to learn.
We conducted an unscientific online poll asking if people will comply with new mask mandates if they're implemented. As of Wednesday afternoon, more than 22,000 responded. 74% said no.
President Biden says he plans to ask Congress for more money to develop another new COVID-19 vaccine for the latest variants. This as the CDC is expected to release their latest guidance on boosters as early as next week.
The CDC director is expected to sign off on the new booster recommendations. The shots would be available soon after. On Capitol Hill, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
And let's take a live look right now at Baltimore City on the left side of your screen. Look at, I don't know, Jonathan, I'm not a meteorologist. Is that haze I see out there? It is hot. In Ocean City on the right, the boardwalk empty though, because it's probably hotter than Hades on the boardwalk right now. People continuing to deal with this record-breaking heat wave. And in Baltimore, in fact, we've seen temperatures in the high 90s since Sunday. Pretty hot out there, Maxine.
Yeah, you're right. There's nobody on the beach. There's nobody. I mean, it is a Wednesday afternoon, but still, there's like not a soul out there.
That might be the air conditioning. That might be a good place
As
to
they
be.
should be, right? If you can, stay inside.
Water, air conditioning. Hey, if you have your pool still open, that could be a good place to be this afternoon, this evening. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these numbers here. And man, we have just been dealing with all kinds of heat. 98 degrees, I believe it was back on Sunday. Monday was at 99, 99 Tuesday. And again, at least so far, we've been at 99 today, breaking a record. Heat advisory continues along with an air quality alert, code orange day, through this evening through 7 p.m. is when that heat advisory expires for Baltimore City, Baltimore County, surrounding areas. Same old song. And of course, you got to take it slow and easy. This, you know, you don't expect it as much, maybe more so in, say, July, August, but not after Labor Day. And here we are at 96 in Baltimore current hour, 96 at Columbia, 97 at Westminster, 99 at Frederick, mid to upper 90s along the Eastern Shore. And even places like Ocean City have been suffering along with us. Maybe a couple degrees cooler, but they've still been well into the 90s the past several days. Heat index now at 100 here in Baltimore. We're at 106. That is downright dangerous at Cockeysville, 102 at Columbia, 102 at Stevensville, and a 106 down at Denton. And eventually, we're going to begin to kind of hand over the heat to severe weather on into tomorrow. Looks like our sky cam just went down. I actually checked and it was here before, but it isn't here right now. But what I can tell you on the Toyota East Shore Harbor sky cam, which of course you can't see much, it's 96. Partly cloudy skies. You can feel it. Winds out of the northwest at 6, humidity 38%. And even that gives us a feels like temperature at 100 degrees right now. And there's our sky cam right now. You can see again that we have some sunshine blazing down across the city skyline with the record heat continuing. There's that risk of severe weather that's going to be coming our way for tomorrow. Thunderstorms lined up all the way across the Ohio Valley as a cold front heads our way. There's a marginal risk of severe weather to our southeast. This area in yellow, that is a slight level 2 of 5 risk of severe weather coming for tomorrow. So that includes Baltimore City. Could have some hail and high winds tomorrow afternoon. Now out in the tropics, there's a lead. This is forecast to become a major hurricane. We're talking maybe a Category 4 or Category 5 off the East Coast by this weekend into early next week. Take a look at those computer model trends. Not liking them initially, but then they make that curve to the north. And the big question is into next week, is a cold front going to be strong enough to take Lee, curve it off to the north as a major hurricane, and then kick it east? Now, if that cold front isn't strong enough, then we may have some more impacts. Most computer models say it is, and it is going to be off the East Coast and then moving away out to the east into the open Atlantic. But something to watch closely late in the weekend into next week. So overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, mainly clear skies, warmth and humidity. Now for tomorrow, starts off warm and sticky. Look, by afternoon, there are those showers and thunderstorms hitting about 5 to 7 to 8 o'clock at night. So keep in mind, could have some hail, high winds with those. Weather alert day there, 92 on Friday, dropping out of the heat wave just in time for the Ravens game on Sunday.
Well, AI could change the way kids learn in the classroom, the impact it might have on your kids' education. And Prince George's county officer suspended for a very suspicious interaction in a squad car. What we're learning about the investigation tonight. New developments after this viral video out of Prince George's County. It shows an officer kissing a woman at a park near a school before they both get into his police car. The department now confirming the officer has been suspended. Brad Bell with our Sinclair sister station in D.C. joins us live now with the very latest on this video. Brad.
Yeah, look, this video surfaced yesterday. It's gotten millions of views. It is the talk of the town. The officer is suspended. An investigation is underway. And today, people claiming to be both the woman in the car in the video you're going to see and the officer's wife surfacing, exchanging accusations against each other. But it's really the video that has people talking. Video with millions of views, showing a uniformed Prince George's County police officer in an embrace with a woman. She then leads him to the back seat of his marked police vehicle, and they disappear behind heavily tinted windows. A second video posted later showing the same police car parked in a different park, with a woman also getting in to the back seat. We've determined both locations are parks in Oxon Hill, Maryland, one directly behind Oxon Hill High School, the other behind Glass Manor Elementary. The officer involved is Corporal Francesco Marlette, and he is now suspended. The person who posted that first video of the officer and woman together telling 7 News by phone he believes what he witnessed was wrong.
The police officer, he did it broad daylight. He didn't even look up. He didn't care who was watching, who was witnessing. He didn't care if it was kids around.
Yeah, so like I said, people are talking about this video. There's some giggling going on in the community, people laughing about it, making jokes about it. But there are also some serious questions because this officer was previously charged with child abuse back in 2016. The charges were dropped, we've just learned, because the witness in that case, the mother's child, recanted her testimony. So the officer was actually kept on the force at that time. Since then, there have been 2 other occasions where there have been accusations of domestic violence. The officer was suspended, and then those charges were determined to be unfounded. So we've been asking questions. How's the officer stayed on the force? Those are the answers we've gotten at this point. But again, police are telling us the investigation into what exactly went on in that car, well, it is continuing. In Upper Marlboro, Brad Bell, Fox 45 News.
Brad, thank you. A hostile work environment for women dating back to 2017. What we're learning about allegations against the Baltimore County Fire Department. And a prominent local businessman considering a second run for mayor. After the break, we're talking with Bob Wallace about his vision for Baltimore.
New video shows the moment a convicted killer escapes from a Pennsylvania prison. This happened Thursday evening. Investigators say Danilo Cavalcante climbed up a wall and look at this. Look at how he's doing it. And up over razor wire to make that escape. Police have not caught him so far, but investigators are combing an area near the prison. He is considered dangerous.
Wow. It's day 4 of a brutal heat wave in the Baltimore area. This is a look at the conditions across Baltimore, including the Inner Harbor and Towson.
That's right. Temperatures are hovering at 100 degrees once again. With that humidity tonight, it feels even hotter.
Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers has the latest on how long this heat could stick around.
Yeah, the wild thing about this heat wave, guys, is the fact that, you know, other heat waves of the summer, we've been at 90, 92, maybe one day at 98. This has been consistently 4 days of near 100 degrees, and so late in the season. Started off our first day on Sunday with 98 and then 3 99s, and thus far today we made it to 99 degrees. Heat advisory continues in effect here in Baltimore, surrounding areas, except for the middle and lower portion of the eastern shore. Last hour it was 99 here in Baltimore. We're now at 96, 97 at Westminster, 97 at Chestertown. And yes, we did hit a new record for the day. Feels like 100 in Baltimore. I can attest, it is miserable outside. 106 is the real field temperature at Cockeysville. There's that high temperature today, 99 here in Baltimore, made it to 97 at Westminster, and it continues hot all the way into the evening before finally dropping into the muggy 70s. That's all we can do by 2 and 5 a.m. early tomorrow morning. Let you know when storms are going to break this, my Weather Authority forecast.
Yeah, Jonathan, it's funny for me to say this. We'll take the 70s even at night. The heat continues to impact schools across our state. Harford County canceled all outdoor activities for a second day in a row because of the heat. Baltimore County has also called off outdoor activities, and 11 Baltimore City schools are either going to remote learning or dismissing kids early due to a lack of air conditioning in classrooms. We are learning more tonight about why the Baltimore County Fire Department entered into a consent decree with the Department of Justice.
Well, according to the complaint, the department subjected several female employees to a hostile work environment based on their sex, and some of the details are disturbing.
Some of it's very shocking. Some of it is very concerning.
This 12-page complaint against the Baltimore County Fire Department includes allegations dating back to 2017.
There are some concerning names in there from 2017 that are still part of the command staff.
According to the complaint, 11 female employees were subjected to a hostile work environment when a former male employee distributed nude and inappropriate pictures of them to other coworkers, solicited pictures from coworkers, and even went on to post the pictures to a social media site. The complaint alleges that the department ultimately failed to take immediate action to address the issue and didn't adequately communicate with the victims.
There was no follow-up with some of the members that were victims of this sexual harassment, and I think that's where the DOJ really kind of went. There was no follow-up, no follow-through, no proper investigation for a long period of time, and I think that's where our members were not served properly and still made the workplace very problematic for those individuals that were harmed.
Fire Union President John Sabiga says his members deserved better.
As a huge training component.
Under the terms of the consent decree, the department will overhaul its process for investigating complaints of sexual harassment and provide periodic sexual harassment training.
We certainly welcome any additional training. We want a workplace that is free from sexual harassment that the decree mainly deals with, but we also want a workplace free of any type of harassment, any type of retaliation, any type of intimidation. That's what our goal is always going to be.
The county will also pay $275,000 to compensate the 11 female employees victimized. This follows a rare vote of no confidence recently made within the Baltimore County Fire Department.
This just kind of solidifies some of those things that are in our vote of no confidence report.
Well, Baltimore County Fire Chief Joanne Runn issuing the following statement regarding the consent decree. She says every employee deserves to feel safe in the workplace, and I am proud of the progress we have started under my tenure to diversify our department and strengthen our culture. Through this agreement, the department is sending a clear message that Baltimore County will not tolerate harassment in the workplace, and I fully support the steps required to ensure we're doing all we can to be supportive of all of our people.
With the 2024 Baltimore mayoral election just around the corner, businessman Bob Wallace says he's forming an exploratory committee to look into whether he should run again.
Now, the Baltimore native grew up in the Cherry Hill neighborhood in poverty before becoming a business leader. The last time he ran for mayor, he did so as an independent candidate, but this time he says he'll be running as a Democrat.
He joins us live right now. Mr. Wallace, thank you for being here. Always a pleasure to see you, sir.
Great to see you guys.
Last time you ran, it was as an independent. This time you say you want to compete in the Democratic primary. What's behind that change?
Well, I think there are a couple of things, Kai. I think one is, Baltimore is 11-1 Democrat compared to everything else. And I think running as an independent, I think there were situations where people could not hear my message, my message of economic empowerment, closing the economic gap, dealing with the crime issue and the education issue. And I felt that it was important to remove all the barriers so that the voters of Baltimore could hear my ideas and could hear the vision that I have for the city. And I hope that running in the Democratic primary will allow that to happen.
And Mr. Wallace, the city facing a number of public safety issues. As you know, homicides and shootings are down overall, but there has been a spike in youth violence and car thefts. What do you believe needs to change about the city's approach to public safety?
Well, I think there's a couple things. One, the mayor has to convey the reality that this kind of behavior will not be tolerated and that there'll be consequences for that kind of behavior when it occurs. I do believe that we need to still address the root causes of this behavior. I think we look at the issues of conflict, managing conflict. I look at the issues of crime as pertains to people having an ability to meet their physical needs. And I think that we need to encourage and support the police. I think we need to close the gap of officers that we're short in. But I think we need to provide or look at some alternative ways, some creative ways on how we close that gap of the lack of officers on our streets.
Interesting, Mr. Wallace. I don't think anybody can look at what's happening in the city and say there's not an issue going on right now with our young people. And it's concerning because a lot of those young people are young black males. They're being killed. They're being accused of killing. You grew up in Cherry Hills, the same area my wife grew up. What would you do? What 2 or 3 things would you do, Mr. Wallace, to immediately kind of help our young people and stop this cycle of violence involving young people?
Well, I think the first thing is to communicate that there'll be consequences to the kind of behavior that we're talking about. I mean, in Cherry Hill, when I was a kid, there was a code of conduct that our parents taught us on how to carry ourselves. I think we need to reinstitute that code of conduct. Secondly, we need to provide an economy where these young people have opportunities to have jobs and to earn an income. The reason that they're out on the street is that they need to be able, or they're trying to find a way to make a living, to take care of themselves. And the trauma of poverty, the trauma of being poor and black, it is an amazing thing that's changed the behavior of many of our young people. But as mayor, my most important job, my most important thing to do is to protect the safety, is to make the city safe for all people in the city.
All right, it's Mr. Bob Wallace. Thank you again for speaking with us tonight. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Have a good day.
A recent Project Baltimore report highlighting the success of Salem Avenue Elementary in Washington County. Despite 100% of its students living in poverty and receiving lower funding, it's still outperforming some Baltimore schools. This morning, Fox 45's Megan Gillen spoke with a community leader about what we could learn here in the city.
An elementary school in Washington County, Maryland, that happens to be one of the poorest in the entire state is rated among Maryland's best schools. Some attribute Salem Avenue's elementary success to a program called the Blitz. It's when teachers visit the homes of their students in Hagerstown before the school year begins, knocking on doors and introducing themselves to students and their families. And now some are wondering if this could work here in the city. Lifelong Baltimore resident Pastor P.M. Smith weighing in on this teaching method.
You have great leadership, Mr. Thomas Gardner, the principal. Administrators and faculty reach out to the kids. They go into their families. They set high academic expectations, and there are no excuses. Sometimes no running water, sometimes no gas and electric, sometimes no involved parents. Absolutely impoverished, 100% below the poverty line. The message that this leader and his team does is reach out to those kids with high expectations, no excuses.
Do you think there's a way of accountability with that as well? I know where you are. I understand what's happening here, and you're still expected at school.
You've heard it before. Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. That message is being sent to these young people. These young people are responding, and you can see it academically.
Our Project Baltimore team interviewed some of the staff at Salem Avenue Elementary School. You can find the entire story on foxbaltimore.com. I'm Megan Gillen, Fox 45 News.
Well, this school year, there's another challenge for teachers and students. AI, like ChatGPT. The service can write entire essays and even solve equations in an instant. Fox 45 News spoke with an AI expert about the impact that could have in the classroom.
There are good ways and bad ways to use it. So a bad way would be you're supposed to read a book and do a book report on it. Instead, you ask ChatGPT to write you a summary. So we need to make sure that they don't do that. But a good way would be you're interested in a topic, you go into an open-ended exploration. You ask it a question, it gives you an answer. You ask it follow-up questions, and it's basically reading Wikipedia, but faster.
Well, experts say teachers should embrace the technology and use it as a study tool while still staying vigilant with making sure kids aren't using it to cheat on homework and other assignments. A deadly bacteria could be hiding in your oysters. There are growing concerns over the threat that's being reported up and down the East Coast. Well, a rare but deadly flesh-eating bacteria has been identified on the East Coast. Several cases and even deaths have been reported related to the spread of it. Cal Domowski from our Sinclair sister station in Providence, Rhode Island, has details.
A rare but deadly flesh-eating bacteria is making headlines along the East Coast. Last Friday, the CDC sent out an advisory alerting health officials and providers to Vibrio vulnificus, a species of bacteria that can cause life-threatening infections. It comes as cases, and even a few deaths have been reported in North Carolina, New York, and Connecticut. And while it's incredibly rare at only 150 to 200 cases per year, Vibrio vulnificus can cause necrotizing skin and can be extremely deadly.
1 in 5 people who get this infection will die.
So far, there are no reports in Rhode Island, and state health officials say healthy Rhode Islanders should not panic.
We have this great relationship with the shellfish industry, and that the DEM here in Rhode Island does regular water testing, and they do it weekly. We can feel reassured that we've got a good network in place that keeps Rhode Islanders safe and healthy.
According to the advisory, Vibrio vulnificus thrives in warmer waters during the summer, especially in bodies like estuaries. The rare bacteria is mainly transmitted when an open wound comes into contact with salt or brackish water, but there are cases where it can affect people who have eaten raw or undercooked shellfish. Bob Rowe is the executive director of the East Coast Shellfish Growers Association and an expert in biological oceanography. He tells me recent alerts haven't been good for Rhode Island's shellfish industry.
People are canceling orders, people are canceling shucking events. This is a very rare illness that typically a healthy person is not even going to notice.
Much more common in people that have either an immune system that's weakened, especially people that have liver disease or maybe cancer or have some other reason. Maybe they're taking medications that are making their immune systems weaker.
Experts say people who are at risk should take precautions like only eating fully cooked shellfish.
We are under weather alert still now through tomorrow for severe weather that's coming. Very busy forecast. Also, the tropics acting up as well. Maybe a major hurricane off the East Coast by early next week. So let's get into things. Heat advisory in effect until this evening. Baltimore City and surrounding areas, including a code orange air quality alert that's also in effect. So spend some good time inside in the air conditioning. Stay hydrated. That's going to be the way to go. Right now, 96 had it up to 99 last hour here in Baltimore. 95 at Cockeysville, 95 at Bel Air, 97 now at Westminster. One lone spot in the 80s, that's Annapolis at 89. Everybody else is in the 90s, and we did break a record today at that 99, breaking the old record of 98 from back in the 1980s. 100 is what it feels like here in Baltimore, 104 at Cockeysville. So dangerous or near dangerous conditions in terms of the heat. Mile 1 Taos cam showing just a couple of patchy clouds. Looks like a little bug flying by there, trying to escape the heat, I suppose. 96, mostly sunny skies now over the Towson skyline. Winds out of the northwest at 6, and there's that stifling heat index at 100 degrees. Next weather maker, cold front moving at us with showers and storms now over portions of the Ohio Valley. That's going to displace this record heat. That begins moving in tomorrow with the potential of some severe weather. Slight risk, level 2 of 5 of severe weather across almost the entire area except the lower eastern shore. Main timing between about 5 and 9 p.m. tomorrow. Wind and maybe marginally some hail going to be the biggest threat. And then on top of all of this, once this heat wave abates, we're going to have some close eyes on the tropics. Right now, newly formed Category 1 Hurricane Lee is moving its way to the north and east of the Antilles and eventually north of the Bahamas. The question here is, we don't like these tracks, the way they're aiming at the United States, at least initially. Question is, when this curvature happens at the end here, as this cold front that's going to be impacting us as we head into the weekend moves east and eventually off the East Coast, what's going to happen here? Is that front going to be strong enough to recurve this back out to sea, this kind of track 1 here, or will that front stall out and weaken, and then we get a coastal hugger out of this thing, and it could be a major Category 4 or 5 by the time that happens. So really going to have to watch this closely. The implication is that this will head back out to sea, but it's something to watch. Future scan overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, mild, muggy. Look at this by tomorrow afternoon. There are those spot to scattered storms after highs in the mid to upper 90s once again. Looks like it could be a rough one here. So a weather alert day for tomorrow for the heat and the storms. 92, some spot storms on Friday. And it begins drying out and cools down just in time for the Ravens game on Sunday.
And here's a live look at M&T Bank Stadium tonight. In just 4 days, the Ravens will start their season here in Baltimore against the Houston Texans. This year, the team's success could help support a good cause. Baltimore area Toyota dealers are donating $500 to the Kennedy Krieger Institute for every touchdown the team scores this season. That money will be used to help support patients in need of special mobility services, and much more. Well, we want you to show us how you're celebrating football's return leading up to this weekend. Scan the QR code on your screen or go to foxbaltimore.com/chime in and select the Purple Pride tab to send us your game day pictures and videos. Coming up at 5 o'clock, a popular home goods store, the center of a major coupon scam. What you can be on the lookout for to avoid losing thousands. And the heat and humidity could be a disaster for your home. What you need to know to protect your house. Extreme heat is dangerous. Extreme heat is dangerous to your body, but did you know your home can suffer as well? Tom Rogers breaks down how to protect your house from the sun's damaging rays.
For starters, don't take your HVAC system for granted. It's likely overtaxed from the constant high heat, which can lead to pricey repairs. A simple DIY fix is to regularly replace the air filters, then schedule regular professional maintenance. And it's not just the heat. More people means more homes, which means more destruction with every major storm.
Homeowners insurance generally doesn't cover water coming from outside of your house, so it's not a bad idea to supplement your coverage with a flood policy.
But even without a flood, extreme heat can create water damage in other ways, specifically with your plumbing. Metal pipes can expand and contract, and over time will leak.
You want to inspect your plumbing routinely or have a plumber do it on a recurring basis. You could also consider installing a leak detector. They're a little bit expensive right up front, but they can save you tons of money in the long run.
Consumer Reports recommends this leak detector from Moen. High temperatures can wear down your roofing, so it's important to inspect it regularly and look for damage for its shingles or on your tiles. Replace them before they can leak and cause even more damage. High heat and humidity can also create ideal conditions for mold and mildew.
You want to keep the humidity inside your home between 30 and 50%. Anything higher and mold and dust mites can thrive. A dehumidifier can help with that.
Consumer Reports tests dehumidifiers and says this idea from larger rooms can help remove moisture from the air and maintain ideal humidity within your home. Consumer Reports says a dehumidifier will remove the water from the air, but if your problem is driven by a continuous source of water, a dehumidifier won't be enough, and that's why regularly checking for leaks and other sources of water in and around your home is always a good idea. Tom Rogers, Fox 45 News.
And we continue under weather alert this evening and tomorrow, actually, for the potential of severe weather. But you're going to have to take it slow and easy. Drink lots of water, loose, lightweight clothes, and take frequent breaks in the air conditioning. And, of course, not only make sure that you're okay, but check on your neighbors and, of course, make sure that the pets, rather, are brought inside, because this weather is especially hard on those folks, and man and beast alike. By 7 p.m., if you're planning on taking a walk still, I'd be inside. It's 93 degrees, feeling like close to 100, but it will start falling into the 80s this evening, and by overnight in the 70s, and there's relief to come. I'm going to let you know when it gets here, coming up in my Weather Authority forecast next hour.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, we press the mayor on his re-election efforts, why he argues he's the ideal candidate for the job despite surging violence. And looking ahead to the race for president in 2024, the new poll shedding light on President Biden's track record with certain voters.
It is extremely hot outside. We are in a code red heat advisory today.
Fourth day of record-breaking temperatures, our Weather Authority team is tracking our weather alert all this evening.
Plus, looking ahead to the race for Baltimore City Mayor, we speak to a political expert on Mayor Scott's chances for re-election.
And major crimes become the everyday norm for some residents. The frustration that is mounting and what's being done about it.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
We begin with breaking news. Word that federal charges could be coming against President Biden's son, Hunter Biden. The Associated Press is reporting federal prosecutors are preparing to charge him by the end of this month. The exact charges are not clear, but appeared related to a gun possession charge in which he was accused of having a firearm while being a drug user. Earlier this year, a plea deal with the government fell apart. Hunter was set to plead guilty to misdemeanor charges related to his failure to pay income taxes and avoid prison time.
If we hit 100 degrees today, it'll be the first time since 1983. That's 40 years ago, right? We know when people are out there, we know what can happen. We want people to utilize those cooling centers. We want people to, if you do not have to go out into the heat, don't. But make sure that you're checking on the vulnerable neighbors, your elders, especially if you have a neighbor that doesn't have air conditioning and you do. Allow them to come and cool off at your house and just do things that can help people stay alive and stay healthy today.
Fox 45 News is under a weather alert because of another day of record-breaking temperatures across the state. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Maxine Stryker. Thousands across the state are seeing the impacts from the extreme heat, from schools closing early in Baltimore to extracurricular activities being canceled in the counties.
Fox 45 News is keeping you up to date with all the current conditions right now and the heat and when we could see a cool down.
Hopefully soon. Let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers. Jonathan?
Yeah, and in fact, the record high for the day of 98 degrees was from back in 1983. We broke that by hitting 99 when we hit 100 last at the airport. That was back in 2020. And we're up to 99 again this hour after dropping 96. So we'll have to see if we do it. Haven't done it yet, but the heat advisory does continue for this evening through 7 p.m. for most of us. That's the area in orange. So everybody except the middle and lower portion of the Eastern Shore. There's that number again, 99 in Baltimore. We're 96 at Cockeysville, just searing heat, 97 at Westminster. 90s actually across the entire board, even Annapolis. You're at 90 degrees right now. Add in the humidity, it feels like 102 in Baltimore, 106 at Cockeysville. That's dangerously hot. 102 at Elkton and 104 at Laurel. So drink lots of water, spend plenty of time inside in the air conditioning. Of course, take care of the elderly, those folks that may not have air conditioning. It's really a rough time. 96 by 6 p.m., 93 at 7. Also, there's a code orange air quality alert in effect through this evening as well. Temperatures eventually fall into the 70s overnight. We could be back well into the 90s again tomorrow, but we may pair it up with severe weather, and we could have a major hurricane off the East Coast next week. We're tracking that coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Jonathan, thank you. The weather is having an impact on Baltimore students. Kids at 11 city schools who don't have air conditioning are being impacted by the heat. They'll be sent home early or for learning remotely through the end of the week. Now, with the heat wave, the classes are literally too hot for students to sit in. The school system had plans in place to install air conditioning in schools before the year started, but administrators now say those plans won't be complete until the end of the year.
The CDC is also offering some tips on how to stay hydrated in the high temperatures. First, drink before you feel thirsty. The CDC says by the time you feel thirsty, you're already starting to get dehydrated. And if you're going to be out in the heat, the CDC recommends drinking 1 cup of water every 15 to 20 minutes. And don't go overboard. You shouldn't drink more than 48 ounces of water per hour.
Put the power of the Weather Authority Storm Center in your hands. Download the free WBFF Weather Authority app for your smartphone. Use our powerful Doppler radar to follow storms to your street. Go to your app store and search for WBFF to get started.
We're turning now to a city in crisis. Violence continues to impact the everyday lives of residents.
Most recently, an early morning shooting, a double shooting in North Baltimore, killed a person. A 21-year-old man was killed and a 57-year-old was hurt.
So far this year, there have been 451 shootings in the city. 192 people have been killed.
Well, the city is seeing a rise in car thefts as well. More than 7,000 cars have been stolen this year.
And the chaos continues as Mayor Brandon Scott looks ahead to re-election efforts. But that chaos could be a major deterrent.
We have live team coverage tonight. Fox 45's Amy Simpson has more on how serious crimes are now being treated as nuisance crimes in some parts of the city. Amy?
But we begin with Rebecca Pryor and a closer look at the mayoral race and Mayor Scott's chances for re-election. Rebecca?
Yeah, with the many challenges currently facing Baltimore City, political analyst John Deedy says it could be a challenging primary election for Mayor Scott next year.
In a city plagued with problems. According to political analyst John Deedy,
I think there's a perception that crime is high.
Crime remains top of mind for voters.
Because of the types of things we're seeing, the more brazen types of things.
This July, a Brooklyn block party turning tragic. 28 people shot and 2 killed, marking the city's worst mass shooting in history. 2 months later, at least 6 suspects still on the streets. And of the 3 teenagers arrested for the shooting, none of them charged with murder. Last Friday, gunfire outside a football game at Dunbar High School, sending fans and students scrambling to safety, and a 12-year-old suffering a shot to the back. Car thefts also taking off.
And I have no idea what happened to the people that took it. No, nothing.
So far this year, more than 7,000 cars stolen. Compared to this time last year, thieves driving away with just over 2,200 cars, an increase of more than 200%.
With all of that being said, what is your message to residents about why they should reelect you?
My message to residents is that, one, I have done this job with the utmost integrity, never been able to have anybody talk about my work ethic or my integrity. But I ran on making sure that we were going to reduce violent crime in Baltimore. Homicides are down 20%. Shootings are down 10%. That is not the case for many major cities.
But while BPD's crime data confirms homicides have dropped 20% and shootings 10%, the mayor's initial crime-fighting promise.
I will aim to reduce homicides by 15% each year in my term, getting us below 300 homicides in my first year.
Still falling short year after year, while quality of life crimes remain high.
Car thefts are out of control. Another repeat of a Brooklyn type of thing. If youth crime becomes more out of control, then I think that that's something that could be a problem.
As for who could create a problem for Mayor Scott's re-election campaign, businessman Bob Wallace launching an exploratory committee this week.
If he runs as a Democrat, if he's got the money and can make the issues, maybe he has a shot.
And back in June, former Mayor Sheila Dixon inching closer to considering another run.
I know I can make a tremendous difference in the city.
There are still people who will ride and die with Sheila Dixon. So she has that thing going for her more than any of the other candidates. And she can also point, here were the crime numbers when I was in office.
When asked about upcoming competition, Mayor Scott claiming his blinders are on.
I'm only focused on me and my job. I'm focused on doing my work each and every day.
Baltimore City's primary election will be held on May 14th. That's now just 8 months away. Reporting live from outside of City Hall, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Rebecca. And we want to put Baltimore's crime crisis into perspective. This is data from city police. This year, 26,000 crimes were reported. That includes burglaries, car thefts, assaults, and shootings. One economist addresses the level of the city's crime crisis.
So much criminality in the city that all of a sudden very serious crimes are treated almost like nuisance crimes.
Fox 45's Amy Simpson is live. And Amy, you're hearing about how serious crimes are now being treated like nuisance crimes in the city?
Yes, Kai, we just heard some of this from Rebecca, but so far this year, more than 7,000 cars reported stolen here in Baltimore City. That's about 29 cars stolen every day, more than a car stolen every hour. Just last week, we heard from a Riverside Park woman here in Baltimore City who detailed her experience after her Hyundai Tucson was stolen earlier this summer. She said her car did later turn up totaled in White Marsh, but the day her car was stolen, she told me that police never came to the scene, instead taking a police report over the phone. Meanwhile, that Baltimore-based economist says serious crimes like stolen cars are now being treated like nuisance crimes here in the city.
I called the police, and it took them about an hour, almost 2 hours to get back to me.
Car theft is a very serious issue. That's one's transportation, but also one has invested a lot of money in that car. Of course, there are considerations of insurance costs, those kinds of things. That's a huge loss.
So, Amy, when someone's car is stolen in the city, is it protocol for a police report to be taken?
Kai, I asked them that today, and a spokesperson for the department pointed to what it called its smart policing policies, which it's a series of protocols they say they launched last year. BPD says it's shifted to an alternative response for those non-priority calls to free up officers for high-level crimes. And today BPD told me that in cases of auto theft, if they take a police report over the phone, they say can get those stolen tags into their license plate reader system a bit quicker. We're live tonight. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. We want you to join the conversation. For city residents, if the election were held today, who would you vote for mayor of Baltimore? Brandon Scott, Sheila Dixon, Bob Wallace or someone else? The poll is live right now. You can weigh in at foxbaltimore.com/vote.
Cell phone messages sent through an encrypted app and never meant to be seen by the public are now shedding some light on what's been happening at the Maryland State Department of Education.
Project Baltimore's Chris Papps joins us now with more on those messages and why they're raising serious concerns over the state superintendent's leadership. Chris?
Well, Signal is an encrypted messaging app which allows users to set a timer to automatically delete messages. It's marketed as having privacy at its core. So why was Maryland State Superintendent Mohammed Chaudhry using the app to conduct state business? Project Baltimore obtained these screenshots of conversations between Chaudhry and high-ranking employees within the Maryland State Department of Education. Each one is a signal message sent by Mohammed Chaudhry to at least one high-level MSDE employee whose name we are concealing. We received multiple text threads, which the source says were sent between late 2021 and 2022. Chaudhry's name is right there, along with his picture. The phone number, which we blurred, is registered to the superintendent. Now, in these messages, Chaudhry is discussing work like teacher assignments and MSDE contracts. In one conversation, he appears to berate an employee. But when we asked the superintendent at a recent school board meeting, he told us he does not use the Signal app for his job.
Mr. Superintendent, have you ever used the Signal application in commission of your job?
No, thank you much. Appreciate it. For my job?
Well, you've never used Signal for your job?
Now, we followed up with Chaudhry in an email asking him to explain those screenshots we just showed you and why he told us he never used the Signal app for his job. His answer has now changed. Coming up tonight on Fox 45 News at 10, we'll tell you what the superintendent says he was using the Signal app for. We'll also show you the evidence that we now have that contradicts his follow-up statement. I'm Chris Papps, and this is Project Baltimore.
Chris, thank you. This just in, Baltimore County Police need your help to find the driver involved in a deadly hit and run. The picture there resembles the SUV police are looking for. The deadly crash happened on Saturday, August 26th. Police say a 46-year-old woman on a bicycle was struck and killed while crossing Rossville Boulevard. This was around 8 p.m. Detectives say they believe the suspect was in a black 2012 or 2013 Toyota Highlander. It has damage to its right side view mirror and headlamp. You can call Baltimore County Police if you have any information.
Still ahead, 2 months since Baltimore's largest mass shooting, we hear from Mayor Brandon Scott on new efforts to make a real difference.
Plus, the Ravens officially start the season this Sunday. Morgan Adsit is in Owings Mills with all of the highlights.
The first Wednesday practice of the season means week 1 is officially underway. The Ravens are on the practice field for week 1 preparations against the Texans. And for these Ravens, it's something they've been waiting on since January. For one in particular, 19 months. That would be veteran wide receiver and free agent addition the offseason, Odell Beckham Jr. That was when he tore his ACL in the Super Bowl and missed the entire 2022 season. You could say he is ready for this wait to end.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time in my mind. It's been a long time in reality. And I just been, we're trying to pretend like it's not here for the whole training camp and just go about it and be grateful to be back out there. But I'm excited. I don't know what emotions will be running through me. I know I'll be excited to play football again. So I'm just ready to get there, trying to take it a day at a time and, ease my way into it.
After that layoff, he only has 4 more days to wait and see what's in store for him in year 9, first with the Ravens. Some practice notes from today. Tight end Mark Andrews back on the practice field as promised by his head coach John Harbaugh, so no need to panic for him on Sunday. Cornerback Marlon Humphrey, who had foot surgery, not on the field. He is unlikely to play this weekend. Reporting in Owings Mills, I'm Morgan Atzett for Sports Unlimited.
Well, we want you to show us how you're celebrating football's return leading up to the game this weekend. Scan that QR code there on your screen or go to foxbaltimore.com/chime in and select the Purple Pride tab to send us your game day pictures and videos. We are under a weather alert today with temperatures near the triple digits. Scientists say this summer has been the hottest in the Northern Hemisphere. The World Meteorological Organization announcing last month was not only the hottest August scientists ever recorded with modern equipment, it was also the second hottest month measured behind only July 2023. Scientists blaming human-caused climate change from the burning of coal, oil, and natural gas, and an extra push from a natural El Nino, which is a temporary warming of parts of the Pacific Ocean that changes weather worldwide.
It's driven by continued increases in concentrations of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. So the 3 main greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, methane and nitrous oxide, they all reached record observed highs.
According to the University of Maine's Climate Reanalyzer, so far daily September temperatures are higher than what has been recorded before for this time of the year. Here at home, we are under weather alert as we see record-breaking temps, but a cool down could be on the horizon. Sure hope so. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers for the very hot forecast. Hopefully you have some good news for us.
Yeah, and Maxine, around here, our summer only ran a little bit above average, just about a degree or so above average. But really the big heat has been now that our meteorological summer has ended, the June, July, August months. And now into September, this is when it's actually been the hottest of all summer. Heat advisories in effect from Cecil County to Harford County, Baltimore City, Carroll County, Howard County, and also Anne Arundel. That's going to last us through 7 p.m. this evening. On top of that, there is a code orange air quality alert that's in effect. And we'll just have to wait a few more minutes to get our official high temperature reading from the airport. We'll have to see if we do hit 100, or we did hit 100. That will be the first time since back in 2020 that happened. Thus far, all I've recorded thus far is 99, but that's enough to break the record from back in 1983 of 98. Right now we're at 99 in Baltimore, 97 at Cockeysville, 97 at Westminster. The beat goes on. 95 at Chestertown. Actually, the entire map, we are in the 90s right now, even near the water, so no relief. Feels like 102 Baltimore, 106 at Cockeysville, 104 at Elkton, all these dangerously hot temperatures. So if you want to take a run or a jog after work, I'd delay that till right around or after sunset when it gets at least a little more tolerable. Again, the double nines here in Baltimore, that's a BWI. Clear skies, blazing hot. Toyota Eastern Harbor Skycam. It just looks hot, right? Winds out of the north at 6. Help air humidity down to 33%. That's actually fairly okay, I'd say, but unfortunately, even with that moderate level of humidity, it still does feel dangerously hot at 102. HD radar shows the beginning of the end of our heat wave. The showers of thunderstorms lined up with our next weather maker, Columbus, all the way down to Memphis. That is going to quell that record heat tomorrow. Still probably in the mid to upper 90s, but the record for the day, I believe, is 101. So I don't think we'll hit that. Showers and thunderstorms could build in tomorrow afternoon with the approach of that next weather maker, which is a cold front, which should help to diminish the heat as we head into the weekend, and could have some other important impacts next week in terms of the tropics. But until then, a slight risk, a level 2 of 5 risk of severe weather coming tomorrow afternoon between about 5 and 9 p.m. Wind as well as maybe a marginal hail risk out of this. Now, out in the tropics, I mentioned there's Tropical Storm Lee that just has become a Category 1 hurricane. Could be a Category 4 of the southern portion of the East Coast by the end of the weekend into next week. And look at the cluster of computer models. Initially, not looking good as this aims right towards the East Coast. But right here at the end, as we head towards the middle of next week, starts making that curve off to the north and eventually, hopefully, fingers crossed, to the east. Really all depends on the strength of this cold front. Current prognostications say this kind of track 1 here that goes off the East Coast, most likely. If that front is a little weaker than expected, we could have a lot more impacts, and it could be a major storm as it's kind of whirring there off the coast. So it's something to watch very closely for next week. Overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, it is warm, it is muggy. Temperatures about 75 to 80 to start. And then tomorrow afternoon, the only difference after highs well into the 90s, some spot storms after about 4 or 5 o'clock through about 7, 8, maybe even 9 o'clock tomorrow evening. Again, some damaging winds as well as some hail and potential near 90 still on Friday and eventually cooling down through the weekend into early next week. Back to average 86 for the Ravens game on Sunday.
Coming up, a popular home goods store, the center of a major coupon scam, what you can be on the lookout for to avoid losing thousands. Plus, looking ahead to the race for president in 2024, the new poll shedding a light on President Biden's track record with certain voters. Topping your consumer news now, a new coupon scam that you may want to be aware of when shopping for household essentials. Fox 45's Tom Rogers explains how you can avoid losing thousands.
Bed Bath & Beyond stores across the nation, they're closing their doors, and now they have a new owner, Overstock.com. But the Bed Bath & Beyond name will stay, and scammers are taking note of the confusion. Angie Barnett with the Better Business Bureau says it's easy to fall prey.
You see that, you think, oh, they're back. So people are clicking on that information. They're being directed to a fake website. It is not Bed Bath & Beyond technically, and they're putting in their credit card information, ordering products that never get delivered.
The process goes through where you actually purchase those products. It goes into your card, everything. I mean, it looks legit.
It looks so legit.
And then they don't show up.
That's our problem.
Yeah.
So, you know, always you've got to say, Tom, over and over, use your credit card, how important that is. Next, look at your URL and see, does it technically say bedbathandbeyond.com?
Okay.
I tell you what I do. I go directly, I do a search, and I go directly to that website myself. I don't go via a link in my social media or an email that's advertising. If it looks too good to be true, I want to check it out and make sure it is.
Now, Barnett also recommends knowing how much a product costs elsewhere. That could give you a better idea how much you should expect to pay if it is marked 15 to 40% off. You can check out Amazon or Walmart to find similar items that Bed Bath & Beyond carries. But she says just going directly to bedbathandbeyond.com is safer than clicking on a link. Tom Rogers, Fox 45 News.
Fox 45 is on the scene of live breaking news right now. Police responding to a shooting in the Brooklyn neighborhood. This is a live look from the area near Benjamin Franklin High School right now. You can see police on the scene there on Pontiac Avenue. Our newsroom is working to get more information, but there are reports of a number of people shot there at Pontiac and 5th Street in South Baltimore. Again, police responding to a shooting in this neighborhood. We'll let you know as soon as we get more information. Coming up after the break, a consent decree in Baltimore County painting a picture of working conditions in the fire department. The new details surrounding a hostile work environment.
The next election may be far off, but urgent concerns right now over which voters may be disgruntled. I'm Scott Thuman in Washington to explain, coming up.
Fox 45 News is on the scene of live breaking news. A number of homes are on fire. This is happening in Southeast Baltimore near Patterson Park. You're looking at pictures one of our crew members just sent us. This is happening on South Robinson Street. The scene is just a block away from Patterson Park itself. Again, our crews are reporting that firefighters are making some progress knocking down that fire. We'll find out if anything else has happened, including any injuries, and bring that information to you.
And we're still following that breaking news in the Brooklyn neighborhood. Police are responding to a shooting near Benjamin Franklin High. Our newsroom is working to get more information, but there are reports on a number of people shot. Again, BPD responding to the shooting there in South Baltimore along Pontiac and 5th Street. We'll let you know as soon as we get more information.
Oh my God, sticky. As long as you stay hydrated and have your mindset to where you got to be and get to there so you won't melt. Other than that, you're good.
You need a shady area to chill at, you know? I'd prefer it to not be this hot, you know, but it is what it is.
I'm cool with the age, but I feel like the 90s is reaching.
Sticky is the perfect adjective, right? You heard it there. It's unbearably hot outside as we see record-breaking temperatures across Maryland.
Yeah, it's hot out there, Max.
It is. We're at a loss for words.
We are indeed. And I love the fact that she took her child over to the splash pad. I've taken Grace over there before when she was little. It was fun. But we are on weather alert again today.
We are. So you're looking at some live pictures outside Baltimore. We're under another code red for the hot temperatures.
But a cool down is somewhat in sight right now. Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers for the latest.
Yeah,
Jonathan?
we're kind of at the top of the mountain now looking down. So up to near 100 today, and I think for tomorrow we're back down into the mid-90s, maybe near 90 on Friday, and then some bigger improvements for the weekend. But a heat advisory in effect for the entire area. That includes Baltimore City, except for the lower and middle portion of the eastern shore. Still have about an hour and a half on that. So you need to take it slow and easy. Of course, as our soundbite said there, got to stay hydrated. That is extremely important, and be someplace cool. In the air conditioning, good spot to be today. 99 right now here in Baltimore. That is a new record for the day. 98 was the record from back in the early 1980s. 97 at Cockeysville, 97 at Westminster. And in the next few minutes, we'll be getting our official high temperature reading for the day. And if in between some of these hourly readings we did hit 100 degrees, it'd be the first time that we did so since back in 2020. 102 here in Baltimore, the real field temperature, dangerously hot at Cockeysville near where the State Fair is going to be getting going once again, hopefully under better conditions this weekend. It feels like 108 there at Cockeysville. 99 the high temperature in Baltimore today, and any outdoor exercise, I'd put it off until after sunset when we finally do drop off into the 80s. I'm going to let you know how long we're going to hold on to the heat when we could have a major hurricane off the East Coast and any implications for us. That's all my Weather Authority forecast.
We're learning more tonight about why the Baltimore County Fire Department entered into a consent decree with the Department of Justice.
According to the complaint, the department subjected several female employees to a hostile work environment based on their sex, and some of the details are disturbing.
Some of it's very shocking. Some of it is very concerning.
This 12-page complaint against the Baltimore County Fire Department includes allegations dating back to 2017.
There are some concerning names in there from 2017 that are still part of the command staff.
According to the complaint, 11 female employees were subjected to a hostile work environment when a former male employee distributed nude and inappropriate pictures of them to other coworkers, solicited pictures from coworkers, and even went on to post the pictures to a social media site. The complaint alleges that the department ultimately failed to take immediate action to address the issue and didn't adequately communicate with the victims.
There was no follow-up with some of the members that were victims of this sexual harassment, and I think that's where the DOJ really kind of went. There was no follow-up, no follow-through, no proper investigation for a long period of time, and I think that's where our members were not served properly and still made the workplace very problematic for those individuals that were harmed.
Fire Union President John Sabiga says his members deserved better.
As a huge training component.
Under the terms of the consent decree, the department will overhaul its process for investigating complaints of sexual harassment and provide periodic sexual harassment training.
We certainly welcome any additional training. We want a workplace that is free from sexual harassment that the decree mainly deals with, but we also want a workplace free of any type of harassment, any type of retaliation, any type of intimidation. That's what our goal is always going to be.
The county will also pay $275,000 to compensate the 11 female employees victimized. This follows a rare vote of no confidence recently made within the Baltimore County Fire Department.
This just kind of solidifies some of those things that are in our vote of no confidence report.
Baltimore County Fire Chief Joanne Runn issuing the following statement regarding the consent decree. She said every employee deserves to feel safe in the workplace, and I'm proud of the progress we've started under my tenure to diversify our department and strengthen our culture. Through this agreement, the department is sending a clear message that Baltimore County will not tolerate harassment in the workplace, and I fully support the steps required to ensure we're doing all we can to be supportive of all of our people.
Turning to a city in crisis, it's been 2 months since Baltimore's largest mass shooting at the Brooklyn Day block party. 18-year-old Aaliyah Gonzalez and 20-year-old Kylas Fagbemi were killed. There have been no arrests for their murders. Tomorrow, Mayor Brandon Scott will participate in a community meeting surrounding the shooting.
This is about allowing those residents to tell us what they think about those action and the after action report and what they see and what they want what they're going to give to us as far as how we can improve. Right, we've been communicating and talking with those residents consistently, but my expectation is to sit there and hear what the residents of Brooklyn have to say and work with them to improve on it.
Next week, the City Council will address the communication failures among city agencies. This will be the second meeting held on the topic.
And we are now hearing from the mother who lost her daughter in the Brooklyn mass shooting.
Every single day, we are forced to adjust to living without my daughter.
Fox 45's Olivia Dance brings us those calls for change.
Last week, the city issued a lengthy 173-page assessment of how it handled the Brooklyn mass shooting. The Baltimore Police Department admitting it made mistakes. The assessment found the city failed to properly prepare and protect the hundreds of people attending the block party that night. And now former NAACP President Marvin Doc Cheatham is calling on Maryland's congressional delegation to request a federal probe of the shooting. He says there are too many unanswered questions and still no arrests of those directly responsible for the two homicides.
We are not satisfied with the city patting themselves on the back, writing their own report. We're saying this must not happen again.
Crystal Gonzalez is also calling for a deeper review, insisting that she deserves to know what really happened that night and why. Her daughter, 18-year-old Aaliyah Gonzalez, was one of two people shot and killed during the Brooklyn Homes mass shooting just 2 months ago.
Let me tell you what happens when you don't protect and serve. My daughter ends up in an urn in my living room. Do you understand me? You showed up to work that day, but you did not work. You failed.
Those calling for a federal probe said they reached out to Maryland's congressional delegation almost 2 weeks ago, but so far they have received no response. Reporting in the studio, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News.
Let's turn to election coverage 2024. Some red flags popping up for President Biden's re-election efforts.
Some key voting groups that have traditionally helped Democrats on Election Day aren't exactly enthused. And while that could be a problem for any politician, Biden may have more reason to worry than others.
Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman explains why.
For President Biden, a need to turn things around. Democrats alarmed by the potential Biden-Trump matchup may be nervous based on new numbers. A series of New York Times Siena College polls over the last year show Biden leads Trump by just 53% to 28% among registered non-white voters, a marked deterioration in Biden's support compared with 2020 when he won more than 70% of non-white voters. Enough to make the difference between keeping the White House or handing the keys back to his predecessor, should they be the nominees.
Young voters, young Black and Latino voters, they're not ready to come back to the party. They're not even looking at the so-called messaging that's being sent to them about the economy, about climate change, about student debt relief.
Biden constantly trying to shore up support among skeptics.
Your generation will not be ignored, will not be shunned, will not be silenced.
Biden appointing America's first Black female Supreme Court justice, White House press secretary, and of course partnering with the first Black vice president. And Biden chose the first Latino to head the Department of Homeland Security. But election hopes go hand in hand with turnout. Having support is one battle, getting people to vote is another. According to Roll Call, Black voters posted an almost 52% participation